You're listening to the WBT Podcast with Michael Lodge. Listen to all of our podcasts at www.wbtpod.com. Stay informed. Let's get started.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
And hello, this is Michael Lodge for the WBT. I'm glad that you've joined me this morning. It's that time of the day to have our talk. And remember what our talk has been from the beginning of this week is knowing your product. If you're beginning into a new company, or if you're starting your own new business, or if you've joined an organization where you're an entrepreneur and you're selling a product, it can be a product that you wear, a product that you eat from, or even a financial product that you live from. You have to know your product. You shouldn't even begin to sell until you know your product. You should not even begin to talk to your clients until you know your product. And if you don't know your product, you will not be able to define your target audience. How do you know what your product is going to fit into a specific client or customer? So you have to understand who your target audience is by understanding what your product is, what your product line is, what your financial product is, or whatever you're selling. This is critical because the language, the channels, and the information you use to communicate and appeal to the demographic that you've chosen to sell to may not be as effective with another because of the product line that you're selling. Clearly defining your target audience gives you direction in your marketing. But how can you market if you don't know what you're selling? Every client is going to be different. Every financial stream in that client's life is going to be different. How they live their financial life, how they live their life in general, defines what type of a audience they're going to be for your product line. So you have to be able to know your product in order to define your target audience. Because what you're selling may not fit everybody. And then you have to, if you don't know your product line, you don't know how to reach your audience. You don't know how to reach those individuals out there. If you understand your product, then you will understand better the target audience and how to reach them effectively, both with the ad and mentally. And you have to get in the mind of your target audience and understand where the best place to reach them is and how they will interpret your product into their lives. Then you have to know your product in order to know the problem you're solving for your client. What I said before is that each client is different. They have a different life form. They have a different financial pattern. They have a different way of thinking. Having a deep understanding of the challenge it's solving and who it is for is crucial. You have to know what your product is and who it is crucial for and how it's going to help that family or individual. It is really surprising how often this is not thoroughly thought through. Always stay focused on your who and why. Test it with your personas. Talk to them about it. And know it is something that will fulfill an unmet need in these people's lives. But you can only do that if you know your product. That's why it's so very important, and I keep stressing this over and over. I told you about the argument I had on YouTube the other day on a video that I saw with the individual who was doing the YouTube that didn't really think that knowing your product was that important, because his whole focus was on recruiting more and more people to join his team. Unsafe, risky type of thought process. Then, if you know your product, you will probably understand the buying journey of your client. The buying process forms the foundation of all marketing and sales activities. You need to have this intimate understanding of the buyer's pain points, where they get their information, and who influences their purchase. Specific events may even trigger a purchase. Customers have different expectations on how they will engage with you depending on where they are in the buying process. And in that buying process, you have to understand that if you don't know your product, you will not understand your client's needs. And you will not know how your product will fit into their life. You have to be able to validate your product. You have to know your product to be able to validate it. When you make a sale and earn your first dollar as validation to yourself to build the product or service even before it's built, it's people won't buy. Let's say that again. If people won't buy the product or service based on a pitch, they probably won't buy the product or service when they hear about it or see the existence of it. Because the individual pitching does not know the product and can't answer the question. And your product that you're selling has competition, so you have to know your competition, and you have to be different than your competition. Because you're going to see Me Too brands out there. You're going to see companies that are selling very similar to you. So what is your persuasive pitch that's going to tell them that your product is better than what the competition is? And that means that you know the product forwards and backwards, upside down, inside out. So, when I talk about knowing your product, I want you to know that if you don't know it, if you don't know what your product can do for that specified client, you're running a risk of looking very stupid for not knowing anything and not being able to answer the questions. And you put yourself at risk and you put the client at risk. That is the issue that I'm so concerned about with people out there selling financial products to clients but don't know what they're selling, because their whole focus is on the commission, not on the client. I tell you, if you know your client's needs, you will have repeat business over and over and over. You'll have referral business going out the yin-yang. But if you don't know it, you're going to fail so miserably, and you'll give up. You will give up, and you'll walk another direction. So you have to know what you don't know. You have to be able to dig deep into what you're selling and what the competition is selling. Many who launch their new business or their new product are good at something but not all things. So before you start out, make sure you know your product but understand your limitations and either hire or more commonly outsource the skills you need. There are some things that you're very good at, but you may have to bring somebody else in to back you up on your product. And that's a situation that you don't want to be in. Rapid success can lead to failure if you haven't thought through the whole plan that you're entering into. If you haven't learned your product, if you haven't learned your marketing ability, if you haven't talked to the companies that you're going to represent, or the products you're going to represent, you have to think the process all the way through. You don't want to be solving problems you don't understand on the fly. That will get you into the biggest problems. And then you need to know your story. And I talk about this so often, especially on new startups. You have to be able to understand your story so well that you can tell it to anyone. And you can tell it to the media, to new customers, brands you can co-market with, and more. If you can't clearly say who you are or what your product is, what you do, why you do it, and what inspired you, you will lose anyone who could help you build your new business. Know your story, know your brands, know your products, and you will be a success. And then start planning for new products or new services or new financial systems to bring into play to your clients. Start planning for more. What else can you offer your client? So I hope that this helps you a little bit to think through this process. Don't think that you can go out and just sell anything, because that will get you into so much trouble that you will be a risk to yourself and a risk to your client. You have to know your product forwards and backwards so that you are able to take that product and fit it into the right person's lifestyle. As I said, everybody is different. And everybody has a specific need. But you have to understand your product and understand your client's specific needs. So this is it for today. We're going to continue to talk about this. Tomorrow we're going to talk about knowing your client, knowing your customer. This is Mike Lodge for the WBT. If you have any questions, send me a email at mlodge@lodge-co.com, and I will try and answer them as best as I possibly can, or get you the answer for it. Everybody go out there and have a great day, and remember, know your product.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.